Hi guys, it's the Gooncast. Fucking enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to it.
Yeah, let's fucking
Brings us to the main event.
We've had a lot of negativity, but that's the gist, right? That's what we do here. We hate on things.
Grievances.
Exactly. We hate on things. With nuance, I would say. Sure. In some cases, wish notwithstanding. Yeah. But we also love things. So let's fucking get into what we loved this year.
Hell yeah. My lead-in for this might have been the hardest top 10 I've done since we've started the Golden Rockos.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
There was an abundance of good shit that I experienced this year.
Yep.
And whittling down this list, like I'm looking at all 10, and usually the way I feel about these lists is like 1 through 3 are like the pinnacle, and then 4 through 10 are like all really solid, and they might go in different orders. Yeah. And then the honorable mentions are like a total tier apart. This is all killer, no filler.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a dirty fucking year.
Yeah.
So to get my honorable mentions out of the way, Balatro, fucking
nice.
Dope. If you haven't wasted some time on Balatro, get in there. It's a roguelike poker game. If you are at all tapped into the gaming space, you've already heard of Balatro.
I refuse to, because one of my friends is like, it has ruined my life. Like in the best way possible, but they're like, don't do it. It's 100 hours now. And I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, Balatro has consumed friend of the podcast, Ben Starr. Like, it's over.
Yeah, it's over.
Animated musical has been Hotel season 1. Mm-hmm. Excellent. An incredible first-person shooter made in the Doom engine.
Oh.
Called Sulaco. Ooh. It has no fucking right to be as good as it is for being essentially a Doom mod. Because if you look this game up, Selaco, Sulaco, when I say a Doom mod, this does not fucking look anything like Doom. This game rules.
Oh shit.
Okay. Going back to my little 2-foot friends mentioned earlier, Puppet Master, the game. Dope. Great multiplayer fun. Yes. We had some incredible times on that on Saber stream.
Yeah.
I thought this movie was going to suck going in or just kind of be like second monitor bullshit, and it wound up being like one of my most fun movies of the year. Infested. It is a giant spider movie.
Oh,
incredibly dope. I loved it.
Yeah.
A little bit of an asterisk on this one, because I understand where Kat was coming from with it.
Yep.
There were large portions of season 2 of Arcane that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I put it in the honorable mentions just because I fucking love Victor so much.
Yeah, no, for real.
Just because I'm my boy.
For real.
2 left, a YouTube channel called Ants Canada. It's a guy who usually, he for the first few years of his channel, he was just like an ant enthusiast and did ant enclosures and ant hives and shit. And then he spent a shitload of money recreating a rainforest environment in a terrarium. He made his own indoor rainforest and filled it with insects and reptiles and fish, and he just follows the weekly life of his little ecosystem that he calls Pandora. It's just this beautiful weekly like nature documentary series. They're like half-hour episodes, and it's just that really cool little reminder of like, wow, this world is actually such a beautiful thing when you slow down and just really immerse yourself in it for a while.
Yes.
So that's been a fun one. And then, because of course it wouldn't be the Valley Jester if I'm not going to mention the lewd game of the year. Lewd game of the year is Aurelia. It is a puzzle solving and visual novel kind of thing on Steam, but with a beautiful pixel art style. Great shit.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings me to number 10.
Hell yeah.
Which is higher on somebody else's list.
Oh God. Okay. Nice.
Hold on.
Oh my God. Great Great list of honorable mentions. I'm going to kind of piggyback off of that a little bit because you mentioned my dishonorable mention of Arcane. Arcane also gets an honorable mention.
Yes.
Because that's where I am with it. I'm very torn where I'm like, I think the pacing was bad. I don't think the story was bad. I liked what they were doing, especially, and I'll spoiler alert it a little bit, but especially once the two girls got back together, I was like, that's the heart of the show. I'm like, the heart of the show is those two sisters and navigating where they're going kind of thing. And visually, it's still stunning. It's still one of the most stunning animations on the market, and that's because they've got League money behind them. So, but nonetheless, it's like this is artistry, and I applaud it. As much as I disdain it for its musical choices. So yeah, that's the first honorable mention I've got. I'm going to mention I played a lot of I played a few detective games early in the year, and I just want to mention one that I really dug was Hercule Poirot: The First Cases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played a few of them. I've kind of talked a little bit with you guys about some of them being very baffling, like A Murder on the Orient Express that was for some reason set in 2020 or 2024, I think.
Oh yeah, they're vaping and shit.
Yeah. It was just like the story did not change at all, except for they would randomly add cell phones and vape pens, and I was like, I don't agree with this at all. But Hercule for the First Cases was very good. The art style was very cute. The deduction mechanic was, I love a good deduction mechanic here. The deduction mechanic was one of my favorites. And I really dug it. It was a really it was a chill couple afternoons of playing this. Then next up is a Korean game show kind of thing on Netflix called Culinary Class Wars. It's basically, if you've seen Physical 100, it's got very similar vibes, except this time it's chefs, and specifically they are pitting 80 black spoons, which are up and coming, getting established chefs against 20 white spoons who are the cream of the crop, Michelin starred, 20-year veteran chefs. And it's wholesome and fun and surprising, and yeah, it's a good time. Next up, Sonic 3.
Okay.
Going into it, I said two things. If they give Shadow a gun and if they blow up the moon, I will be really happy. And they did both those things. Yes. So I was like, hell yeah, baby. It's just a good time. It's a good time. If you're like, ooh, should I go see Mufasa? Don't. Go see Sonic 3. Next up,
I wouldn't have thought that Sonic 3 would be the cyberpunk reunion that we all wanted between Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba, but here we are.
Oh my god. You're so right. So next up, sorry, again, this like Lee said, this year was a really good year for me for good shit. Next up, I played a game called Sea of Stars, which came out a couple years ago. It's a JRPG very heavily inspired by Chrono Trigger and Golden Sun, games I have not played. I will say this one is a bit of an asterisk on my list because I have a lot of issues with it. Specifically, there were some things with the combat, with the game design that I didn't agree with, and also some things with the narrative that did not work for me. However, this game is on this list purely because I played it in co-op with Will, and it was an absolute blast of a co-op experience. It is so well done to me for how they organized it, where I'm like, it's a better co-op experience than even Baldur's Gate, and I love, how much I love fucking Baldur's Gate, right? But as far as a co-op experience, I'm like, right. This was better. It was more solid. It was pure gameplay. It was us kind of just strategizing amongst ourselves, but it was good. It was good. And then my last honorable mention is a horror movie called Longlegs. I think it's Oz Perkins' latest. And I
Nick
dig
Cage,
him.
Right?
Yeah. I dig him a lot. I dig Nick Cage a lot. I thought it was good, not great. I know a couple people really didn't like it because they didn't think it was scary. I didn't think it was scary. I didn't think it needed to be scary. I thought it was supposed to be creepy, and I think it did a good job with the creepy vibes. It very much like Blackcoat's Daughter. It had very similar vibes, so I'm like, I love Blackcoat's Daughter. I dug this. But My number 10 best of, not on anybody else's list, which I'm not surprised about. It's actually a first for me. I've never put a YouTube channel on my best of list.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much I like sort of solidly picked my YouTubers before we started really getting into these channels. So like, I've always loved Red Letter Media. I love YMS. I like their reviews, but also like their sort of like movie riffs. R.I.P. Scoot. You Are Missed. And I also love like, Game Grumps, Donkey, like people like that, where like it's just like playing games and making fun of them and stuff like that. So this is maybe a little bit in that vein, but I started early in the year, kind of, going through things. We all kind of, I think, went through things this year. But I started kind of like trying to detox my life, and specifically like the negativity.
Nice.
A lot of these YouTube channels that I love, like, do kind of get a little bit like ranty or like, into like, oh, I'm like really like, like, oh, I hate this thing, like this thing sucks, or like something like that.
Mhm.
And I was, it's not just those channels that I really love. I was also watching like, other channels, like spin-off channels of them that like, other reviewers where they're maybe not as nuanced as like Red Letter Media or YMS, where it's just like, they're just purely like, I hate this. And I would start getting like mad because I'd be like, well, you didn't even understand this part, or like, or like I would also start hating this thing that like I didn't even fucking watch. And I was just like, you know what? I need to do something else, right? I was like, I want to have something else. I ended up deleting Twitter off my phone. I deleted Reddit off my phone. I was like, I want something positive in my life. Not fake positive, but I just want something that like is just like entertainment and like something I like. So I ended up finding this channel, I think, through their Werewolf playthroughs, which Werewolf is a game that I really I always liked, but like I don't play anymore because I don't really have a group for it. And also like social deduction games can get pretty toxic, and it started to get pretty toxic for me. But watching these people play, it was really fun. And then I got more into stuff. And actually, like, this is a very old YouTube channel that I was never aware of back in the day, but like started getting into this year. And I'm like, yeah, this is actually kind of great. So my number 10 is Smosh Games.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they have so Smosh, very famous big YouTube channel, obviously. They have a spin-off channel where they basically play, they're like an improv troupe now, and they play board games together. And it's so fun. I just, like, every time I watch, I'm always laughing. Sometimes I'm laughing to the point of crying. Like, they did a Love is Blind board game where they all had like characters, and it was so funny. And yeah, I'm just like, it was a great laugh for this really, really shitty year.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a lot of like their other content, and I'm not gonna like highlight everything I watched from them, but like specifically I want to highlight the games channel because I'm just like, this is, I'm a big games person. I'm constantly like, hey, you guys want to play a game? You guys want to play a TTRPG? Can I entice you into doing something? So yeah, I'm just, that's my number 10. I had, yeah, it was a very good positive presence in my life in this rather tumultuous year.
Hell yeah. Shed that negativity and delete all the social media.
Yep. Yep.
Good pick.
Yeah. Jam.
Yeah. So let me quickly rant these, get these out of the way. Honorable mentions. The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. It was a fun, loving love letter to movie stunts. It was a lot of fun. Very silly movie. Next up is a little horror game called Crow Country that Lee bought for me.
Yeah,
it was
buddy.
A lot of fun. It was neat. Next up is another horror game. Disclosure, I got the key for free. It's Suffer the Night. It's a fun little PC horror game that I dug quite a bit, not terribly long. Next up is yet another horror game. Surprise, surprise. This is I want to quickly look up the name of the developer before I say it, because it's actually kind of important.
Yeah.
Wikipedia. Yes, it's developed by a company called No Code, and it's a little horror game called Stories Untold. No Code consists of a lot of developers who I believe worked on Alien Isolation. And the reason why I wanted to play this, and the reason why it's noteworthy, is because this is the developer who is doing the upcoming Silent Hill Townfall. And I was cautiously optimistic about Townfall because I heard No Code's previous horror games were pretty good, and also this is a new Silent Hill game, not a fucking remake. And after playing Stories Untold, I am much more optimistic than I already was about Townfall. I'm not allowing myself to get super excited because we know nothing about the game and they just as easily could drop the ball. But in terms of what I want out of a horror experience, this is pretty good. And then finally, another little horror game. It's $3 on Steam. It'll take you less than an hour to beat. It's called Rat Shaker.
Yeah.
Go play it. All right. My number 10.
Shake the rat.
10. My 10th favorite thing of the year. Lee, can I get a drum roll? Because this is kind of a big deal. Number 10, Saber is higher on somebody's list.
Oh my gosh. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Go get fucked.
All right, number 9.
Yeah.
I hope it's higher on somebody's list.
They must have amnesia. They forgot that I'm him. Number 9 is Dracula Flow.
Oh. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Dracula Flow is a YouTube series. It's 5 videos long, and it is this old man dressed up as Dracula laying down just the nastiest, filthiest bars, the most lethal street insults that you could ever think of, the nastiest shit you could say to a human being. And it is this intersection of like street culture and horror nerd, and you either get it and you love it, or you don't get it and you go, why the fuck is this so funny? It is the brainchild of Joji, aka Filthy Frank, aka Pink Guy, who started the Harlem Shake craze. He would have these sketch videos on his YouTube channel, Plum Corp Records, and this was one of the series that just people kept demanding more and more of. And like the format is great, the lighting is shitty. It's this old man, like his widow's peak for his Dracula hair is like shoe polish, and it's like melting down his forehead because it's so hot. He's like just reading the bars off the phone. It's fucking wild. It has to be seen to be imagined. I have compiled some of my favorite lines from Dracula Flow. Ops wanted some initiative, blew up their entire quadrant. I'm moving like Oppenheimer. I was flipping bricks from Mansa Musa before y'all became a Type 1 civilization. The last guy who ran off on the pack got choked out by some Givenchy gloves. Last thing he ever saw was the price tag on him. Slowly faded into darkness, and I let the archangels take him. It's just like the gnarliest street bars you've ever heard from some poor old grandpa in a hot basement. You hope this guy's getting paid at least something for it.
God.
If anybody out there needs a taste of what I'm throwing down, just type in on YouTube Dracula Flow 3 and give it 4 minutes of your time. And if that ain't it, Jack, that's cool. and if that is your thing, then I have the blueprints to the catacombs. Come join me in smoking some of that Phillips Head mutant Zaza. We're there.
Hell yeah.
Dracula Flow, number 9.
Hell yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, why are y'all looking at me? Number 9. My number 9's higher on somebody else's list. James.
Hey. My number 9 is
Actually, it's higher on Lee's list specifically.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, James.
No, that's fine. My number 9 is an old Sega CD game. It's called Snatcher. It is a Hideo Kojima joint, one of his non-Metal Gear games. It is... I think it was originally on MSX Japanese home computers first, and then it's been ported to a handful of other systems. I want to keep it kind of brief, but it's basically Blade Runner the video game.
Cool.
It's basically that, and just with heavy emphasis on like anime cyberpunk type shit. And it's a quirky, fun, little well-written game, and it was a little blast from the past to go to, and it was... You know, it was neat seeing Hideo Kojima doing something that's not Metal Gear and way before he got pretentious and up his own ass.
What?
Yeah.
No.
And it's basically a mostly point and click adventure / visual novel game with occasional light gun segments.
Okay.
That's an interesting blend. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I like
it's a neat little cyberpunk adventure. Recommend it if you can get a hold of it. Chances are you won't be able to get a physical copy of it because it's a couple $100 because I think only 1,000 copies of it were produced in the United States. And it sold terribly on a platform that also sold terribly. And that's the only English localized version of the game.
Rip.
It's got a bajillion ports in Japan. You might be able to play it in a different method. Cough, cough, emulation, cough, cough.
Does it kind of have that Rule of Rose and Haunting Ground issue of like the physical copies are just ridiculously expensive now because they kind of like caught on late?
When I initially considered trying to buy it, this was like 20 years ago. Like I wanted to like maybe buy a copy of it at Game Dude, despite the fact that I didn't have a Sega CD. Game Dude was selling it for, if they had it, $200, and that was 15 to 20 years ago. I can only imagine how much a used copy would be now.
Organs.
I think Haunting Ground and Rule of Rose sold a little better because they were on the PlayStation 2 at the very least. This is on the Sega CD.
Right.
And nobody bought the Sega CD. And even fewer people bought Snatcher for the Sega CD.
Yeah.
Not even people who worked at Sega played the Sega CD.
Yeah. It's not quite Sega 32X because if nobody bought the Sega CD, negative people bought the 32X.
Yeah.
Someone returned the 32X and he didn't even buy it first.
That's my number 9. Hideo Kojima's Snatcher.
Nice.
Good pick.
All right.
All right.
Number 8.
All right. Number 8. Every so often, you finally get around to getting hands-on with something that you keep hearing about. Like usually, I have that experience with movies where I'll keep hearing about a film, like, "Oh, you haven't seen this, you haven't seen this, and then you finally get around to it, and it somehow like manages to live up to all that hype." I had that this year with what I have frequently heard touted as one of the tightest single-player experiences ever. And I absolutely have to agree. Titanfall 2.
Let's fucking go,
Hey,
baby!
there you
Titanfall 2
go.
supremacy.
Nice.
By a long fucking margin. By a long shot. Titanfall 2 is by far the best single-player narrative campaign ever in a first-person shooter. Ever.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Beyond that, for this to be from 2016, it's fluid. For those who haven't been hands-on with it, it's an FPS, but in a genre that can feel very restricted movement-wise because of the nature of the camera and how aiming is supposed to work. Titanfall 2 essentially has like a parkour system built into it, and they have fused it like into the fucking DNA of a shooter game so perfectly that I haven't seen it executed near as well since. they had the formula down.
Nice.
Like I wasn't big in. I've never been big into like the multiplayer shooter community. Like, you know, I'll do some casual side of it, like I did some Overwatch back in the day and shit like that.
Mhm.
But I've never been like an online deathmatch kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know, I live in Southern California and I grew up in Southern California, so like couch co-op with some Halo 2 and some Totino's Pizza Rolls, like,
There you
know,
go.
that's about where it capped out.
Mm-hmm.
But the online community for Titanfall 2 was like insane, and the amount of like outrage when Titanfall 3 was not when it was well, it got green lit, but then it got canceled. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, you might know, James, didn't they take like a bunch of the team that were working on Titanfall and they made Apex?
I can't go into too much detail considering that I worked at Respawn at the time.
Oh, you did? Oh shit,
yeah.
Okay.
But what I will say is that instead of following up Titanfall 2 with Titanfall 3, because Titanfall 2 actually didn't sell particularly well. It was kind of sandwiched in between both a Battlefield game and a Call of Duty game. Like in the span of 3 weeks, it was Battlefield, Titanfall 2, and then a Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
So people and Titanfall, and it's a sequel to an Xbox One / PC exclusive. So the Sony community was already like mostly unfamiliar with it.
Yeah.
But basically, the like a Titanfall sequel is something that people want to do. It's just a matter of timing, and they chose to do Apex for whatever reason. And now Apex prints a lot of money. So who knows? But
makes sense.
The when I was hired at Respawn explicitly, I was hired for the Titanfall team. So when I went to join Respawn, I was expecting to be on Titanfall 3. And then I walk in the door, and the entire Titanfall team was working on Apex.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, for all the things that it did really well, I feel like it's a genre where it's very easy to lose sight of the importance of the character piece of it. Like, you know, a lot of people, especially because of the Call of Duty craze, if they're picking up an FPS game, it's because they like the feel of the game, they want to get into the action. Like, character goes out the window. A lot of COD games have established some great characters. We've talked about them here on the podcast. But I feel like for the most part, with the exception of a handful of them and like, you know, the Doomslayer, who is just rage embodied, it's not as common to have these really gripping characters. But the relationship, the partnership between Jack Cooper and BT in Titanfall is fucking top tier bromance.
Protect BT, BT2 pure.
Yeah, protect BT at all costs.
If I am not mistaken too, the little droid in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is an homage to BT because his name is BD.
Oh, that's cute.
Because if I recall, BT stands for Buddy Titan, and in Star Wars it's Buddy Droid.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I could see that. So that's where that clocks in. I'll go a step further and say, like, yeah, it's obviously the best FPS single player campaign I've ever played. It's just one of the most gripping single player campaigns, period, that I've ever played. So Titanfall 2, number 8.
Yeah, I'll only just chime in on, I played Titanfall 1 and 2 before I worked at Respawn. It's why I wanted to work at Respawn. I love Titanfall 1 and 2. Titanfall 2 single player campaign is phenomenal. I really liked the multiplayer. I'm also like you, where I don't really do a lot of online competitive multiplayer, but Titanfall was so much fun that I kind of bucked that trend for a little bit and played a lot of Titanfall online. And the only thing I can really say about it is the skill ceiling for Titanfall is astronomically high.
Oh, I can imagine.
Disgusting how good you can be in Titanfall. Even if you think you are shit, you can do some dank, cool stuff in Titanfall multiplayer.
I can only imagine. There's that training course near the start of the game where it's like, hey, you know, get your feet wet and learn the parkour, and I thought I did like a really, really good run of it, and it's like not even halfway up the AI leaderboard. I'm like, I'm garbage. God.
I believe the best time on the leaderboard is actually by default one of the developers.
So yeah, that was a brilliant experience. For those of you who like shooter games and haven't given it a shot out there in the wide world, it's a svelte campaign. It's only like 12 hours.
Yeah,
nice.
But it's fucking that, but it's great.
All thriller, no filler.
Yep. Kat, what you got?
Okay, well, Lee, this does involve you again, actually. So, y'all know, I'm a big TTRPG enthusiast, aka tabletop role-playing games. And specifically, I love trying out new systems and stuff, especially especially with horror games. Yeah. So I will say this is a bit of a stretch because I did experience this game before, but or before this year. But this was the first time I ever ran the game for people. So this was the first time I acted as the DM. So I'm gonna count it because I had a fucking blast DMing Dread.
Yes.
Lee and Mike.
Yes.
And Krista.
Dread.
Yeah. So Dread is this it's a role-playing game, but instead of using, and it's specifically a horror game, although it can be, I guess, modded to be other things, but it works best with horror. Because it is played instead of with like, you know, the traditional like D20s or D6s or any of that stuff. It's not played with dice at all. It's played with a Jenga tower. And
such a good system.
Yes, basically anytime you need to do a check or something that can result in a failure for your character, you have to pull from the tower. And it leads to such amazing moments, it's such a great like visual representation of like the tension in the game. I specifically ran a module because I knew Lee was going to be playing. It's basically Aliens.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think we all had an absolute blast. It was so fun. There was a heroic sacrifice where someone intentionally pushed the tower over to save everybody else.
Okay.
There were a ton of like really close calls. Yeah, it's a really, really, really fun system to run. I definitely had a lot of like anxiety going into it because I was like reading online. I was trying to like get tips from like other DMs and, you know, figure out like, okay, what's the best way to do this? And I saw a lot of stuff where people were going like, oh, like this is actually a really bad system because if somebody knocks the tower over super early, like they're just out of the game. And I read that and I kind of, honestly, I'm like, not to be mean to these people, but I'm kind of like, that sounds like a skill issue, my guy. Like,
get good at Jenga.
Well, that, and also like as a DM, if someone gets their character killed super early, just have them roll a new character or like, you know, do something else interesting with it. Maybe because, you know, for my specific instance, it would have been kind of difficult to have you guys like get a new character. So what I had going in the event of somebody knocking the tower over extremely early was that instead of dying, your character would become infected. Mm-hmm. And basically just slowly but surely it would be revealed that like, oh, your character is doomed, was in fact doomed from the moment you pulled and, you know, collapsed the tower. But yeah. So yeah, to keep things short, Dread is excellent. It's a very, very fun role-playing game. And you know, if you see online that people are going, oh, there's so many issues with it, I would say get creative. There are a ton of ways to work around that kind of limitation. It's fantastic for one-shots specifically.
Yes.
Where it's just like you're all just, you know, sitting around beer and pizza and you're just like, you know, going at it. You know, it's awesome. So.
The Jenga tower as like a matter of stakes is a great way to keep tension high, but not totally just like leave it to the whim of the dice. Like you're hands on, literally, in whether or not this action is going to go through or be a disaster, and that makes it so much fun.
Yes. Oh, and the other great thing about Dread too is that the character creation is like a questionnaire where you're like, you know, basically just like you get a character template sort of thing, and then there's just it asks a bunch of very leading questions.
You fill out their Tinder profile.
Yeah, essentially, and I get to, as the DM, kind of like employ. And there were so many moments where I just got to like be like, you know, I remember Lee's character specifically was an android who valued like human life over everything else, and I said, hey, like one of his questions was like, why am I the most important person on the ship? And your answer was like, I'm not. I'm, like I'm purely here to keep people alive. And I was like, hey man, what if we kind of turned that on its head a little bit and said, you are actually like, you do think that everyone else's life is more important, but also you are the thing that is the most critical to keeping all of them alive.
Which makes me the most important.
Exactly. And that was, and Mike also had a really, really good little bit of thing that I ended up tying into the villains. So yeah, sorry. This went on longer. I could rant for days about this awesome thing, but yeah, Dredd, my number 8.
Good pick. Fuck yeah.
So my number 8 is surprising because I have said numerous times on the podcast and numerous times to both of you that generally speaking, I am completely and totally done with comic book movies. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of fucking Marvel's avalanche of content. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
However, I decided to temporarily... There's a couple movies that have been very, very tempting, and I decided to temporarily step back into that world for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh,
fuck yeah.
I kind of looked at it more of a farewell to the Fox era of Marvel movies. Yep. So I was very curious to see how they would integrate Deadpool into the MCU. Yeah. And it was a really, really fun movie that also honestly was surprisingly heartwarming and heartfelt. Even though the internet has already done fucking everything to spoil some of the bigger surprises of this movie.
Oh my god.
I am not going to mention any of that in the event that somebody here is listening to this and has not seen the movie. All I will say is, even though this movie pokes fun of Fox and pokes fun of the older Fox movies quite a bit, it is also a love letter and a loving send-off to any superhero movie that was not produced by Marvel Studios, like that was controlled by like Fox or New Line or whatever. And that was genuinely surprising and touching that it actually came from a place of warmth.
Dude,
so that's my number 8, Deadpool and Wolverine.
I'm glad you liked, because I watched it. I watched it at Lee's recommendation, and I dug it. It didn't end up on any of my lists, but I did enjoy it. I'm surprised. I'm glad you liked it, because
I was very surprised, because I was also expecting a lot of stupid MCU bullshit.
Of course.
And there's a touch of that, and there's a touch of the typical MCU problems. Like, I know you're also making fun of the MCU for its problems, but you're also kind of you're leaning into it a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say that the I was kind of hooked from the opening. Again, I don't want to spoil what happens, despite the fact that everybody has. But the opening of that movie is really, really solid, and I was sold from then on.
I will say, because Lee, I'm not going to spoil it, but one of my favorite characters of all time, one of my favorite comic book characters of all time is in this movie.
Hey.
And so that was like, Lee was like very intentionally like, I'm not going to spoil it for you. You should go see this movie.
I did such a good job.
You did such a good job. And then I was like, oh, is it this character? And you were like, oh, no, like, yes, like what? And I'm like, yeah, there was a trailer that featured that person in the trailer, and I like it was something that like auto played in front of a YouTube video for me, and I was just like,
thanks YouTube.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I'm also just baffled by like, why would you advertise that? Like that was it would have been such a fun surprise.
Studios are stupid. Like from literally a week after the movie came out, Disney and Marvel were already like, I know Reddit, like the internet will fucking spoil stuff, but also Disney and Marvel were already spoiling stuff like the weekend after it came out.
Yes, correct.
And shit rags like IGN were spoiling it the day before it came out because they saw it early, and it's like, fuck you.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my number 8, Deadpool and Wolverine. All right. Ryan Reynolds is great in it. Hugh Jackman is great in it. Whole cast is fun.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
All right, number 7.
7, you know where we're going. We're going to Gotcha Town.
Hell yeah.
It wouldn't be a proper Golden Rocko's Roundup if we weren't talking about some fucking gotchas. It's Endless Zone Zero at number.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, yay!
I
Oh,
fucking
good.
love this game. So,
Oh, good.
Endless Zone Zero is the new Hoyoverse joint. It's been out for about 6 months now, and I'm fucking digging it. It's a third-person character action game. Great cast of characters. Weirdly, like, good-feeling, fluid combat. It's third-person action with 3 character teams with a lot of emphasis put in on switching out at the right times, using certain skills for certain types of advantages at the right moments. Whereas I feel like a lot of gotchas can fall into a trap of get the character, make them strong, steamroll the content until you hit a paywall, and then buy your breakthrough to keep pushing onwards, which is why I did not engage in this genre for a long time. The best way I can put ZZZ is, at its best, it's a damn good character action game. At its worst, it's a decent visual novel.
Okay.
So, like, even when it's in, like, some, long plot sections, and there's that little bit of me that's like, okay, I'm into the story, but I'm really wanting to just, like, beat some ass right now. It's still engaging. There's a lot of charming characters, which is always the mandatory aspect of any gacha, because building the cast and building your roster is kind of like the entire allure to doing this thing. It's off to a strong start. I think they're going to be supporting this game for quite a while. It's got a lot of style. It's got a fantastic soundtrack. It's just fresh. I think a lot of gachas fall into a trap of they're trying to chase the success of Genshin Impact, because that's, I think, still the most popular game in the world.
Yeah, probably.
But Hoyo doesn't mind taking a chance on something different, because they also did Genshin.
Yeah.
So they're like, we'll just do something totally fucking different, and if you don't like it, then go back to our cash cow.
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of the way to do it, right? Like, you make it's the sort of like one for them, one for me kind of mentality, right? Where it's like,
Sure.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be in game dev or studios. Like, that's kind of what Rockstar games used to be, where it's like they'd have their Grand Theft Auto, and then in between Grand Theft Autos, they would
do like bully,
smaller stuff. Like in between GTA 4 and GTA 5, they did Red Dead and LA Noire and Max Payne 3, and they used elements of all 3 of those to further development of Grand Theft Auto 5. And Grand Theft Auto 5 started printing money, and Rockstar said, hey, what if we stop doing that and just take a decade and a half to make the next game?
Yeah.
And then the last point of note on this one, because ZZZ is getting a lot of I don't know if it's outright negative press, but it's the butt of a lot of jokes that, like, oh, ZZZ is like finally the ultimate like Coomer game. It's the ultimate degen experience. And you know what? I'm actually going to go in the direction of how I spoke about Final Fantasy 16. They're just not being cowards.
Oh.
I think I think the gacha gaming community is, it has a certain amount of like degeneracy built into it, because that's can keep people's wallets open. Yeah. And ZZZ just doesn't fucking care to dance around it anymore. They're like, you want a hot 7-foot-tall Wolfman butler? And everyone's like, yes, absolutely, I do. Well, they're like, step the fuck up.
As an outsider to gachas, although to disclosure, I've briefly played ZZZ due to its sponsorship, but that's about it. But as an outsider, and from the little I have seen of ZZZ, while it is, I would say, cultured, anybody who thinks it's like the ultimate Coomer gacha is unfamiliar with gacha, because I've already seen some shit where it's like, God damn. Like, at best, this is like, from the little I've seen so far, PG-13. There's some shit where it's borderline X-rated.
Oh, there's plenty of gachas on Steam that are adult only.
Yeah. Even some of the popular ones that are on consoles too, they get really risque.
Yeah.
And it's like, so far ZZZ has not been that. There's like a little bit of fan service.
Sure.
But it's not insane. But what I will like, it definitely seems to be less, as you would say, they're not cowards compared to maybe Hoyo's other stuff.
Exactly. So it's been a great experience so far. I'm definitely going to stick with it. I cap out at 2 gachas because I've only got so much time in a day to like run dailies and take care of upkeep. And Star Rail's still my bottom game, so that's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it came down to Zenless Zone 0 or Withering Waves. One of them had to go. And sorry, Withering Waves, I pick Nicole every time.
There you go. There you go. Well, we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 7 I'm going to keep pretty brief because I don't have like a ton to say about this one. It is an older game, and it is from a studio that like I've never played any of their other stuff. So I like, but I've heard a lot of stuff about them, and like it's not really been very positive. So I never really had like any desire to play these games. But I checked this one out, and I don't remember exactly why. I think it was either just like I was in the mood for a vampire game, or I was in the mood for an RPG, or some combination of the two. It's Don't Nod's Vampire.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. I really, really dug it. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. And I just want to, like, I would say, like, if you're into kind of like, yeah, if you're into vampire stuff, if you're into just like, it's a pretty casual game, I think. The combat wasn't too difficult. But the thing that I really, really loved about it, this is the thing I want to highlight, was the social gameplay system that they had, which was that basically every like zone that was like a safe area, right, where like the people were holed up to be safe from like the plague and all the random shit that's happening, had a network of NPCs where all of these NPCs were like related to one another and they had various connections to one another. And also they had various like information about one another. And you as the player could choose to engage with this system, either to just like get to know these people more, get more XP, like, just like sort of protect them better, or to get them to like the point where they have the most XP and then you can eat them, basically. Mm-hmm. like for the most, like, the most stuff. And it was a really fun system to engage with, because it kind of felt like part detective work, part like social deduction almost. You were kind of just like, you would tail some of these people, and it was a lot of like ambient life stuff. It wasn't, none of it was like really super out in the open, like a cutscene would happen, or like, the storytelling. Like I loved the storytelling in these little moments of just like, these are communities of people that interact with one another and do things. And I don't know that the execution was necessarily like the most solid execution of that idea I've ever seen, or rather of that idea, period. But I think it was the best I've ever seen of it. Where I'm just like, I like this a lot. I almost want like a full game, like that's like that's the focus kind of thing, where like it's like a detective game and a lot of it is about that like social deduction kind of element. So yeah, I liked it a lot. I think it was a really strong early entry in my list, and it just kind of like maintained its position throughout the year. So I would highly recommend it, just as like a, it's chill vibes. It's a chill vampire story. If you like weird Victorian, like, hunting blood demons in the sewers.
What do I?
Yeah, this is the game for you then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jam?
Kat, do you like blaxploitation movies?
Oh, yes, I do.
Do you like awkward kung fu and rhyming?
Absolutely, I do.
Do you like characters who gain magic powers and then abuse their magic powers?
You know it, baby.
Do you like seeing winos get buried alive?
Hang on a second.
Well, then I have the movie.
Keep going.
It's called Petey Wheatstraw, the
Yes!
Devil's Son-in-Law.
Nice.
Earlier this year in Goonflix, we kind of did a Rudy Ray Moore marathon where we watched Dolomite, The Human Tornado, Dolomite Is My Name, which is the biopic on Rudy, and Petey Wheatstraw, the Devil's Son-in-Law. And while I liked Dolomite and I liked The Human Tornado, Petey Wheatstraw, the Devil's Son-in-Law, is a special brand of insanity. If you dig weird, fun, entertaining, bad movies and blaxploitation cinema and awkward kung fu, and you like having your main character constantly yelling and rhyming, watch it. It's fun. Or alternatively, watch Red Letter Media's hour-long episode about the movie. It's great. It's fantastic. No notes.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
You forgot Rudy Ray Moore's classic appearance in Vampire Assassin.
Yeah, there was that too. I figured I'd save it since I figured that's your number one, Lee.
Yeah. We'll talk about that one later.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
All right. Number 6. I'm gonna try and keep this one brief, but it's gonna be a little tricky because it's a dense thing here. It is my spot in the top 10 for my annual music roundup. However, this year was vastly different. Typically, when I reach this point in the lineup, I talk about my favorite album of the year. And this is so much bigger than just an album. This was a great year for music, the kind of stuff I listen to. I'll throw out a few. Opeth came back with Last Will and Testament. They're back to their progressive roots, and it was excellent. Dark Tranquillity with End Time Signals, great record. Bring Me the Horizon, back at it again with Posthuman Part 2, Next Gen, excellent record. My favorite country group, Old 97s, brought out American Primitive, fantastic. I mentioned Has Been Hotel earlier, the soundtrack slaps. Omni by the Browning, excellent synthcore record. But, folks, fuck Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Oh no.
I have to talk about Kendrick Lamar versus Drake.
Yeah.
We have the privilege to exist in just the right period of American history to perhaps get Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl halftime show to call Drake a pedophile. We might get this to happen. This is the greatest rap beef since Tupac and Biggie. This is a piece of, I'm not exaggerating when I say, American pop culture history we are living in right now. This is an astounding lesson in just how delicious one man's hatred for another man can be. I'll skip all the backstory and just get you to what's important. Kendrick Lamar, regarded by many to be one of the great lyricists of our time, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner. He's a rap artist who won the highest prize for achievement in writing.
Shit.
He does not like Drake. And he makes a point of letting Drake know, dude, my favorite thing in the world to do is sit at home with my wife and my kids and write about how much I fucking hate you. Nothing in the world gives me more pleasure than that. And they go through some rap beef shit. Kendrick doesn't like, he didn't like some stances Drake had about the black community. And Drake kind of throws a couple shots at him in a song. And Kendrick says, okay, that's cool. He included the line in a song, if you don't tell lies about me, I won't tell truths about you. And so Drake dropped a song called Family Matters. And 20 minutes later, Kendrick drops his response.
Holy shit! I didn't know the timeline was that fucking
20
close.
Minutes.
That's insane. I mean,
heavily
prize winner for a reason.
Well, no, it heavily implies and kind of confirms. Because as good as you are, 20 minutes, the production is not going to happen.
He had it cooking. Yeah.
Kendrick has moles inside Drake's camp.
Oh!
Who just also hate him and are like feeding Kendrick his shit as it's being written. So Drake comes out with this song, and Drake, like, in his head was like, this is the kill shot. I'm going to end this beef right now. And then 20 minutes later, Kendrick drops a song called Meet the Grams that starts with talking to Drake's son and saying, like, I genuinely apologize for how shitty of a father you've got. I apologize for him never being there for you. If you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you, come back and listen to this song when you're 18 years old, and maybe you'll understand. And then he starts talking about, like, other members of his family. And Drake throws back another shot. He's like, okay, I'll try to make this work. And then Kendrick releases what I believe is the best song of the year. Not Like Us. Where he stops dancing around metaphors. He stops dancing around allusions and pretty imagery. He outright calls Drake fucking everything that he's alleged to be. With some of just, like, the nastiest lines you've ever heard. Like, you're trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor. Like, oh, good God.
Damn.
Oh, holy shit. Like, it's just line after line of... It's that scene from The Simpsons where the guy's getting the shit beat out of him and the kid is crying and saying, stop, he's already dead.
Yeah.
It's that.
Damn.
And then when the dust cleared, Kendrick's just like, you know what? Nah, never mind. I'm not done. And then drops a whole record called GNX. It's the album of the year. On this podcast, I usually just talk about heavy metal or, like, things in that kind of sphere. This is West Coast hip hop at its fucking best. And to be alive, to witness the hatred that this artist has for another man, I am just so privileged to be here for it. Kendrick Lamar, by and far away, my top music thing of the year.
Nice.
And I'm just gonna throw it out there right now.
Yeah.
I think he's the best of all time.
Oh.
Best rapper of all time.
Shit.
Yep.
Damn.
Kendrick versus Drake, number 6.
Nice. All right. Damn. Okay, that's a hard one to follow up on. But
I had to get the lore in there.
But speaking of predators, I think this is the one that might be on everybody's list. My number 6 is...
Yeah, that's my number 10.
I'm gonna have to stop you. Will goofed because that's higher on my list.
Oh no! Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Okay. Never mind. My number 6 is higher on somebody else's list.
Yeah. Use some King Crimson editing on that one.
Yeah.
It'll help us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're all in agreement about that film, though.
Yes. Okay. Good. Awesome.
All right.
Never mind.
I guess it's on to me.
Ignore me.
Hey Lee.
Yo.
Yeah.
Do you like schlocky action movies?
You know what? I do.
Do you like unnecessary explosions?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Do you like it when your action movie protagonist doesn't really do anything and doesn't save anybody?
James, just say Oppenheimer.
I love Big Trouble in Little China.
Do you love action movies that have the same name as a wrestler? So whenever you talk about it, everybody makes the same fucking meme.
Boy, howdy.
Well, then let me tell you about a little movie called Stone Cold.
Yes! Yes! Oh my god!
Oh yeah.
Yes!
Throw me a couple Steve Weisers.
I don't want to say too much on it other than we watched it with the riff tracks because we were like, you know what?
I love the riff tracks.
Let's watch this bad action movie with riff tracks. And the riff track version is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be real with you when I say I could watch this movie without the riffs because it's genuinely entertaining.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
It is a dumb movie.
Yes.
It is a schlocky movie.
Yes.
It is, in some aspects, a little miserable because the hero keeps failing.
Yes.
But the movie doesn't really acknowledge it, that he's failing constantly.
No.
But it's a genuinely fun time. With or without the riff tracks.
Yes.
The 90s action schlockfest Stone Cold. Give it a go.
Hell yeah.
Excellent.
I've seen both versions like a long time ago when the riff tracks first came out, and yeah, they're so good. Holy shit.
All right.
Number 5?
Let's do this. So
let's kick this off.
I'm gonna tread into this one with a little caution because it's not marked as tied or lower on somebody else's list. And if that's true, I'm genuinely surprised.
No, I think this is my number 9.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I know where you're going with this.
And I didn't even know if I should put it on here because it's just a DLC.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, actually, it might be higher on mine, but
this is my number 10.
Oh,
okay.
Wait. Okay, all right.
Is this where we're going to talk about Shadow of the Erd Tree?
Yeah, it is.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. No, it's not on my list actually.
Okay, let's do it then.
No.
Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erd Tree, number 5 for me.
Nice.
Number 10 for me.
Okay. There is a point where a DLC becomes so fucking expansive that I just have to look at it as this just kind of feels like a separate game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I fell on this. I really felt weird about putting it in the top 10 best for a minute, and then I just said, like, well, fuck, I feel like there was so much content in it, it has to be spoken about.
Yeah.
And I can be very biased when it comes to this because I attached to Elden Ring like a fucking parasite when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
And this only deepened my love for it. I've got some issues with it, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's more Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be mad about it. As far as like some of the particulars, I absolutely love the running quest theme of this game. We're finally getting to be hot on the trail of Mikkel the Kind, and as this like god of love, he's infecting all of these other characters to follow him as his puppets.
Mm-hmm.
And you're following the sub quests of all these different characters who are under his spell and seeing like where are they going with it? Are they breaking free of his charm? Are they saying fuck it, I'll side with him anyway? It was a way to keep me kind of engaged in the through line of the story, which I felt like even the original Elden Ring had a difficult time doing because of From's method of storytelling.
Yeah.
This one let me kind of feel like, oh shit, I've got a storyline.
Yes. Yeah.
That's new.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you can look at the first Elden Ring if you follow the path of the stars and be like, well, I'm just going to follow Ronnie's quest and everything else is just gravy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, some absolutely beautiful sections got added into this. The Cerulean Coast is one of the best areas that this series has had.
I adored the Madness Forest.
Oh
That
yeah,
was my favorite.
The
elf.
entire time you and I were doing our group playthrough, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to see this shit.
Yes, and then we got there and you were just like, "Are you having fun?" And I'm just like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever!" Like,
Now,
to address the elephant in the room, I do think they finally found the point where too much is too much.
yes,
And I
that's
think-
part of
Gotcha.
that's part of the reason why it's lower on my list. Is again, FromSoft has been, as somebody who's been playing the overwhelming majority of these games since Dark Souls 1. Each game has kind of pushed what is and isn't acceptable in terms of difficulty, and at least for me, Shadow the Erd Tree slightly steps over that line.
Sure.
And not in the form of like, it's not like Sekiro in the sense where it's purely skill issue. Because Sekiro is completely designed around a parry system. If you can't parry, you're gonna have a bad time, which is me.
Shit. Yeah.
But I like the idea of the Scadutree fragments and whatnot. But I think they took things a bit too far. Where you roll in with a character who doesn't really have too much of a problem in base game, and even the earliest areas are completely and utterly like almost one-shotting you.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah, the early game was miserable, and I feel like Promised Consort is about as far as you can push difficulty in this style of game.
Yeah.
I remember really struggling with the guy on the boar.
Oh, Gaius,
Yeah, he
they nerfed him.
Yeah, as they should have. Because I was just like, I can't get away from him. He's so fast.
Yeah. My only other thing is I'm a little outside of the difficulty aspect. While it does make sense from a narrative perspective, I will say I am a touch disappointed in the final boss, Promised Consort. I don't want to spoil the name of the Promised Consort, but just because it's even though the mechanics are different, it still is fundamentally a repeat boss. And I already was kind of a little annoyed with that in base Elden Ring.
Sure. At least it wasn't a tree spirit.
Yeah, at least it wasn't. Lee, hold your horses, because in February,
Night Rain, baby.
Well, no, not just that, Cat. In February, we're starting that new playthrough, which is going to be a randomizer Erd Tree. So we could get Promised Consort Tree Spirit.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, actually, we should. We should go in and make sure our seed has that as the final boss.
It'll be great. It's gonna be the best.
Oh my god.
The one thing I need to point out, it's really why this is number 5 on my list, is why it's so high up. When we did in a previous episode our top 10 favorite antagonists list, I had Radagon the Red from the original base game on my list.
Yeah, you did.
I absolutely adore Mikola as a character. This game, the way you uncover his story, his path, what's going on with him, it's a really fucking tragic story. And normally the FromSoft method of telling a story can be very disjointed and broken, and you kind of have to piece it together. But this one, I felt, weirdly enough, did a benefit to the journey of the character, because you're literally following in his footsteps as he's divesting himself of all of these virtues that are weighing him down and getting him in the way of accomplishing his goal. So as you're encountering these things throughout the map called the crosses, you're finding pieces of Mikola the Kind that he's leaving behind. And there's a moment that brings together a delicious plot element where, just as Radagon and Marika are kind of two halves of the same being, you find out that Mikola is one half of a being shared with Saint Trina, who's the god of sleep, who's come up in the story a few times. And there, finally, in the deepest, dankest pit of the lands between, you find the cross that says, "Here Mikola has abandoned his love," which is the only thing that was like keeping him somewhat in check.
Yep.
And in that same dungeon, you find Saint Trina, who's now been split apart from Mikola. And Saint Trina's like, yo, you gotta fucking kill this guy.
Yep.
The sweet little goddess of sleep or whatever's like, no, the twink has to go.
No, he has to go down.
Become the Twink Slayer.
Yeah.
And something about the way the story was paced out, I absolutely fell for Mikola. As a character, as a villain, as a tragic figure, I adore him. So he took Radagon's place for me as one of my favorite villains. Or antagonists, rather.
Nice.
And you know what? Fuck it, I'll say it. I switched from Team Ronnie.
Nice.
Oh my God.
If there was an option for a Mikola ending, I would take it.
Oh, 100%. Holy shit. That would be amazing.
The only thing I can really else add to the Elden Ring discussion is hashtag justice for Moog. Hashtag Moog was framed.
Yeah.
Moog beat the allegations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Moog did not attend the Diddy parties.
No, he did not.
And new evidence has come in, and I no longer hate. I mean, I still hate Moog because he's an asshole to fight.
I mean, fuck him.
But I hate him in a different way. I hate him less.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So that's what I got. Number 5, Shadow the Urchin.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice. That's a good one. My 2 cents, because I did really enjoy the DLC. I did think it was kind of the like all killer no filler Elden Ring, where it was like, oh yeah, this is just jam packed with like a bunch of stuff, and it's fucking gorgeous. But yeah, no, I agree with all of your assessments on like, difficulty spike was maybe a little much, and
sure.
There were a couple things.
And 10-second little throw in, because I'd be doing it a disservice if I didn't mention it.
Yes.
Might have my favorite boss fight of the entire series, the Twin Moon Knight, Rolana.
Oh, okay, yeah. I dig her.
Delicious fight.
Yeah, she's fun. Yeah, I think I probably have my favorite in there too. I can't remember it right now. I liked the butterfly boss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even though like I didn't think she was that hard. I thought she was like really fucking cool. Her moveset was cool.
Yeah, the origin of the rot.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Okay, so my number 5, definitely not higher on somebody else's list. I usually try to throw a book on my list. I try to get some reading done this year. I actually kind of fell off the wagon a little bit toward the end, and that is Lee's fault, because there's a book that he recommended that I've been slowly working my way toward, but
you have.
It is a bit of a behemoth, so
yes,
I've been kind of like just slowly chipping away at it, but I did get a few others read, and I picked my favorite of those few that I did read that I have not experienced before. And so my number 5 is a book called The Fisherman by John Langham, and it is I believe I really like it because structurally it is a fishing tale, right? It's like these guys go to a basically the premise is this guy loses his wife to cancer, and then a few years later he's working at a company, and another guy at his job loses his wife and 2 young children in a car accident. And so these 2 widowers start fishing together, as just like, kind of their way of, I think the protagonist kind of starts it first and then invites this guy along as like hey, this has helped me a lot in my grief. Maybe it will help you. And at one point they go to a diner to before their fishing trip. And this like, grizzled old fry cook behind the counter tells them this incredible fishing yarn, and it's the bulk of the book. It's like basically the kind of framing story of these two widowers fishing together is only about like, a couple, like maybe like I think 100 pages total, and then the rest of it is all this fishing story, and it's amazing. I like highly recommend checking it out. It's very much kind of a, it's a fisher's tale. So it's like if you like that kind of like sort of old wives' tale-y, like, like a little bit like unbelievable kind of stuff,
Yeah,
it's really good.
Puffing on a pipe.
Exactly. And it's also very specifically incredibly cosmic horror.
Nice.
Yeah, so because essentially the fishing story is about we jump back in time to like when the area that they're in up in like Maine, I think, was originally like, you know, immigrants were settling there and working on this like this town or this I think it eventually gets like flooded. But basically like while they're there, the guy who like owns the town, his wife dies. And this dude shows up and is like, "Hey, I'm a fisherman. I can get your wife back." Yeah. So as you can see, it all kind of like ties together, and yeah, it's really solid. It's a really good little piece of like kind of fantastical horror. So
Hell yeah.
highly recommend.
Respect.
I have his other book, which is I think called Under the Carnivorous Sky, on my list of like future books to read, because I'm just like that title alone, I'm like, fuck, like give it to me right now. So,
Good shit.
So yeah, The Fisherman, number 5.
Excellent. Saber, what you cooking?
Jam. Oh, he might be Jojo.
Okay, he's not back yet.
Yeah.
Apparently, the tyrant has acted up and has pulled our dear Saber away from the microphone for a minute.
Yes.
He is prone to do that.
Yes, he is. So,
I'm back.
There you are.
Hello,
You're
welcome
just-
back.
Hello.
You're just in time for your number 5.
Good.
Four.
I love it.
Or, yeah, 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my number 5 is actually my game of the year.
Oh.
Dope.
Yeah, it is Sniper Killer by Black Eyed Priest and
Nice.
Published by Puppet Combo.
Nice.
It is a kind of a horror game. It's a psychological thriller. Little couple hour long indie game where you play as a sniper who is going around killing innocent civilians, and also the cop who is trying to track the sniper down. So
that's awesome.
it's a neat little psychological thriller thing where you're basically seeing the same story from 2 different perspectives. And I found it to be neat and charming in the ways that Puppet Combo games and Black Eyed Priest games normally are, where it pays homage to 80s schlock, specifically, you know, from the horror genre that you'd like find it like on VHS and you've never heard of it before.
You mean the masterminds behind the Booty Creek Cheek Freak?
Yeah. Masterminds behind Booty Creek Cheek Freak, Night at the Gates of Hell, Bloodwash.
Hell yeah.
You know, where it's absolute schlock. Like Bloodwash, I think it was on one of my lists a few years ago, where it's a little indie horror game where you play as a woman who is just trying to do a late night load of washing of her clothing.
Yes.
And you have to avoid the new serial killer, the Womb Ripper, who's
God.
killing pregnant women and stealing their fetuses for some reason.
Yes. Okay, I do remember.
Complete
I remember watching you play this.
yeah, it's complete utter schlock, or you know, again, the Booty Creek Cheek Freak, which is, you know, again, a complete shitpost game of you know, a monster / ghost thing who, if you accidentally poop on the floor of a bathroom stall, he'll come and try to reap your cheeks.
Yeah.
And you'll be decheekinated.
Yeah.
You know, or Night at the Gates of Hell, which is basically an homage to like giallo and zombie films, and it's the only zombie game that I've ever played where you can only actually kill the zombies by shooting them in the head.
Okay.
It's neat stuff. His gameplay has been evolving. He also did Ding Dong Dead last year, which was on my list, which was basically an homage to like Halloween and 80s slasher flicks where you're playing as a babysitter, and it's also an immersive sim where you're trying to lock down the house before a serial killer breaks in. But yeah, play Sniper Killer. It's fun. I liked it. It's currently on PC. Most of Puppet Combo stuff and Black Eyed Priest stuff eventually makes their way to console, so it'll probably be there eventually. It's not as completely gratuitous and vulgar as some of the other Puppet Combo joints, but you know, it still has some sleaze in it, you know, as expected, but you know, it's fun. I like it.
Good shit. Gotta represent the jank on these lists.
Yeah,
Exactly.
of course.
All right.
All right.
Number 4.
Let's hit it. You know, when I want to have a good time, when I want to watch something that makes me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, you guys know what movie I turn to. Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And Requiem for a Dream.
Absolutely. Well,
just
particularly Grave of the Fireflies, because I think that's why I loved Godzilla -1 so much.
Wait, is that your number 4?
My number 4.
Okay, there you go. God damn you.
Yeah, Godzilla -1.
Okay.
Absolutely fucking great film. This is my movie of the year.
Damn.
And I've had to sit on this one for a hot minute because it came out in January and I saw it in theaters. I've been a fan of Big Goji for years, since I was a kid. I was raised on the old school movies and, you know, the serious ones, the silly tail drop kicking ones, the puppet ones, the CG enhanced ones. Doesn't matter if it's got our boy in it, then I'm in. And I've loved the recent movies that are bringing it into a more like regrounded tone. Like Shin Godzilla, I think, is a fucking masterpiece of a movie.
Yeah.
And that's basically, you know, Godzilla meets Evangelion, which who doesn't want that? But this one just hit it at such a level that I don't rarely get as invested in like the human plots as I do in like the kaiju action in these movies. There's some exceptions, like I think Biolante has some good human development. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah had a good human element. But goddamn, I love the cast in this movie. You know, this would-be kamikaze pilot who decided, fuck it, I'm a coward and I'd rather live than just throw my life away for a cause I don't believe in, and come back shame-ridden to his town that got destroyed in the war. Like, gripping shit. Great take on the titular character. I think it's my favorite use of the atomic breath as like an effect so far. Like Homeboy launches a miniature nuke out of his mouth and it's just so delicious to watch. Everything about it just hit in all the ways that I think like a good Godzilla movie should. I'm pretty damn sure it's in my top 3. My favorite of all time still versus Destroya. I think that's the best. But this, Shin, and Destroy, I think, are the best 3. So yeah, Godzilla -1, definitely my movie of the year. Fucking great.
Oh, fuck yeah. Nice. All right. My number 4. Surprisingly not my movie of the year, because I do have a movie that's higher. But my number 4, I'm going to keep very brief, because I do want you guys to see this specifically. It's The Substance.
Oh, I've been wanting to see this.
Yeah, I really want to see that too.
Yeah. I know you both. So hopefully you both like it enough that it ends up on next year's list. So, which is why I won't talk too much about it. It's a great little body horror flick. Like very effective horror in my opinion. Very effective. It's very visceral. Demi Moore absolutely fucking kills it. Like she's so good. Dennis Quaid is creepy as fuck. He's not in the movie that much, but when he is, you're like gross. But yeah, it's great. It's a very fun flick. The moment I thought it was going to be over, it was only just beginning, and I was like, oh, okay, very cool. So yeah, that's my number 4. Hopefully I can get y'all to watch it at some point once it's like, you know, streaming somewhere. And
definitely want to check this one out. It sounds deranged.
Yes, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So for my number 4, I have to preface this with I have been lying to both of you.
You mother.
I actually had one more honorable mention, but I intentionally avoided discussing it.
Oh my god, I can never trust you again.
Because
this podcast is over.
It is over. For my personal list, I kind of want to follow like how we do our other normal top 10s, where I only have one representative from a franchise. Otherwise, it would be kind of like completely flooded with certain things.
Yes, correct.
And Lee, I agree with you 100% about everything you have said about Godzilla -1, but I am a connoisseur of schlock, so my number 4 is Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire.
Yeah.
I am.
Holy shit! The timing on that.
This is this is the one that I figured would be a spicy pick, and I will agree. -1 is one of the best Godzilla movies, if not the best. Definitely top 3 in terms of just general filmmaking qualities. It's for me, it's 1954 Shin Godzilla and -1. But I as we discussed in our favorite films episode, which part 2 is still coming soon eventually whenever we get around to it.
Yes,
where we list our favorites, where I defended Godzilla Final Wars on being on there. I am a connoisseur of schlock. I am a simple man. When I see big monkey pick up smaller monkey and use smaller monkey as a club to beat up other big monkey, I am on board. And also, this movie has Mothra.
Our goddess.
You know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Can't get mad about Moth Mama.
Is Godzilla X Kong: A New Empire a good movie? No, it is dumb and schlocky and stupid. But I love it, and I'm unapologetic about it. I like my schlock.
There was the smallest little part of me that felt this was coming with how little you chimed in about -1 when I was talking about it.
I intentionally.
He's saying dangerously little right now, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't want to tip my hand away. But I love -1. It's a great movie, and if I did not see New Empire, -1 probably would have been in my 4th slot. But
fucking savage.
Big monkey picked up small monkey and used small monkey as a club. What do you want from me?
Oh god,
that's excellent. That's great.
All right, folks, we're in it. Top 3.
Top 3, baby. Let's go. What you got, Lee?
Let's do this. All right, the bronze medal. As I mentioned before, going through my disappointing list, I think pro wrestling is a unique art form in that it allows for a sort of staggered storytelling that's really, really hard to do in any other medium. And this year had the culmination of a several-year story arc that will challenge any character arc of a multi-season anime or, episodic television series. My number 3 is the WrestleMania 40 main event of the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes against the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is a guy who has been kind of built up as the company favorite for years. He was shoved down our throats by creative when we didn't want him. The fans didn't feel like they had a say in who their guy was. Vince and the company said, "This is our dude, we're gonna market him and you're gonna fucking like it." So we hated him. Like, not as a character. We're like, get the fuck out of here. We don't want to cheer for this guy. So they leaned the other way and said, fine, you want to hate him? Then hate him. And they turned him into a villain. And holy shit, he's great. Like, now, as a character and as a dude, like, we fucking love him. Roman Reigns is a great villain champion. He won the World Heavyweight title, and he held on to this thing for 1,316 days.
Damn.
Those records don't happen anymore. The next longest running champion after him is Hulk Hogan in the 70s or 80s.
Oh shit.
So Roman Reigns holds on to this thing with an iron fist. Anytime some scrappy, up and coming hero is going to try and take him on, Roman Reigns stomps the shit out of him. Anytime a worthy opponent steps up, I'm going to dethrone you, Roman Reigns beats the shit out of him. And this happens for literally almost 4 years. And then enter the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. He is the son of an established, well-loved wrestler from decades ago who's not with us anymore. So he's kind of got the family legacy thing behind him. He's genuinely just a cool fucking dude. He's the next John Cena kind of archetype of people like him just because he's the good guy. Sometimes a character can just be a good guy and you love him because they're a good guy. And finally, these two went head to head last year at WrestleMania 39, and Roman Reigns beat the shit out of him because sometimes the villain still wins.
Yeah, we all know that.
And then what happened? The Rock shows up.
Oh.
The Rock
Oh.
is now part owner of the company. He's a board member of TKO, which is the company that owns UFC and WWE.
Okay.
And behind the scenes, he wanted to shoehorn himself into the title picture because Roman Reigns is his real life cousin.
Oh.
He's like, I want to have a match with my cousin at the WrestleMania stage. It'll be the biggest, most marketable main event of all time. The biggest villain in history versus arguably the most successful professional wrestler ever. Highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And the fans said, go fuck yourself. We want a Cody Rhodes rematch. And it was so loud and damaging to stocks that The Rock backed out, and they built a year-long story of Rhodes coming back.
Oh, shit.
And it culminated this year, WrestleMania 40. Cody Rhodes defeats Roman Reigns and becomes the World Heavyweight Champion.
Holy fuck.
And me, a 34-year-old man, cries in front of his fucking television.
Hell yeah.
It
Holy
was
shit.
unreal. And this is a story you can only get with this kind of art form. 4 years of this guy plaguing your television screen with his championship going, who the fuck can beat me? And you finally find the guy who you want to do it. And it's like you're feeding your energy to Goku's spirit bomb. It's like, come on, Cody. Come on. You can do it, baby. And he finally did it. So my number 3, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40.
Nice. Very cool.
Fuck, it's so
Awesome.
good.
Holy shit. Okay, my bronze medal.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to keep this one pretty brief actually, because we kind of already talked about it on a previous Golden Rockos. This was on somebody else's list several years ago. And
God, I can't believe you'd play Balin again and like it.
per his recommendation, I finally checked it out this year, and I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. So my number 3 is Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
Yeah. And also with a special ad of also the Phantom Liberty DLC.
I still haven't played it.
Yeah, no,
Gotta get around to it.
the whole thing was great. I platinumed it because that's just, how I do, but also because I loved it so much. I had such a blast, like making my little guy, doing, God, it's just, it's great. I'm glad I waited, because I do think especially on console it had a rough start, and I don't want to not acknowledge that, but I think that they at the very least, they turned it around, and it was a really, really, I didn't really hit any bugs, like nothing that was like game breaking or awful or anything like that. Nothing that like has stuck with me, at least. And I just had a blast. And not to spoil it for you at all, Lee, play Phantom Liberty.
Dope.
It's awesome. I love it.
I don't need to have another reason to reinstall Cyberpunk and spend some time with my cocaine fueled garbage fire dream man Carrie Uridine.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh,
You and me both, baby.
I love Carrie.
Me, like, because I did 2 playthroughs, I think, and then the second one, I don't think I romanced anybody because I didn't unlock Carrie, so I was just like, yeah, no, nobody else.
When your dream date shows up in a loose bathrobe waving a revolver in your face at 2 a.m, how the fuck did you get into my house? Look, you feel a swoon in your heart.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh no, not another silver-haired twink. My one weakness.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
I'm
genuinely glad you enjoyed that game.
Thank you so much for the recommendation. And also, I will say, I know that I'm still waiting on something from you, so I'm interested to see what your top 2 are, because...
Oh, we'll talk about it next, I guarantee.
And also interested to know where Redacted lands on James's list. So James, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is not Redacted.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay.
But that's going to narrow it down to to one of two possible things that both of you know, because we already referenced the other thing as well. And you're gonna be surprised, but maybe not surprised. I don't know.
No, I won't be surprised.
My number 3 is a forgotten survival horror game from the late 1990s called Deep Fear. It is a Sega Saturn horror game. Is basically Sega's attempt to make a Resident Evil clone. It's their own attempt at trying to do a Resident Evil game. Basically, take Resident Evil, but stick it in an underwater research facility. So it's a neat little change up in terms of setting. It's bog stand. It's just a fun little classic survival horror game from that era, and that's sort of my bread and butter. I love that sort of thing. It's got solid camera angles. It's got solid fixed tank controls. It's got a goofy, over the top 90s anime science fiction horror story. And as a diehard fan of terrible 90s voice acting.
Oh hell
this shit is so good. It is chef's kiss in terms of bad voice acting. If you're able to give it a go, give it a go. It's a neat little game. Plays like old school Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. So if you like that style of shit and you haven't played Deep Fear, give it a go. It's fun. I liked it a lot.
Nice. That's awesome. Although I did have to mute myself because I was laughing so hard, realizing what your top 2 are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love you, Jam. I love you, Jam.
The order is even funnier.
I can't wait, dude.
This will be good.
All right. Let's get it on, baby.
Silver medal.
Yep. Yes.
X-Men 97.
Yep, that's my number 9.
I legitimately felt like I was a kid again with Saturday morning cartoons,
dude.
Waiting for Tuesday to come around for new episodes of this to drop.
Yep.
And that's a weird feeling to have again. Like literally sitting cross-legged on the floor in front of the TV going, "Oh boy, a new episode."
Yeah.
I haven't had that since Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Fuck, I really don't even know where to start. It's not just a nostalgia trip, which I need to be really clear about. This really is one of the best animated anything in years.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. I'm gonna very, very specifically note there is one episode in particular that broke me in terms of how good it was and how I mean, and full disclosure, it's my bias is showing a lot here, but I genuinely think it was the best episode I've seen of TV this year.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we're talking about it, I'll just quickly double down on episode 5 of X-Men 97, titled "Remember It," is in my top 5 favorite episodes of television ever.
And hearing that title, if you know, you know.
Yeah, I had to think about that because best episodes of TV ever, period.
Yeah.
Would be fucking
Ozymandias
from Breaking Bad, absolutely.
Yep.
Red Wedding from Game of Thrones would have to be in there.
Yep.
But Remember It ripped my heart out in a way that I haven't had happen in a long time.
Yeah.
It was one of those almost embarrassing crying moments where Krista was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, no.
No.
Will was too, because Will and I watched it together, and he's not he's not an X-Men fan by any means, and he's certainly not a fan of this character. So he was just like, "You all right?" I'm just like, "Absolutely not." Their end goals, god damn it.
It capitalized on all the things that make the X-Men such a great pool of material.
Yeah.
And that that's superhero shit and they do superhero things, whatever. but they didn't lose sight of the fact that at its core, X-Men is about a socio-political message.
Yep.
And
Yep.
this show really tapped into that. The second episode of this show is like, it takes place like at the UN.
Yep.
And there's a big fight that breaks out, but that's not like the big confrontation. The big confrontation is a bunch of people talking to Magneto, and Magneto going like, "No, you don't understand how bad I'm about to make shit for all you."
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, like the whole show like was really Magneto's show, and it was awesome. But yeah, I mean there were, again, like you said, it felt so much like the 90s X-Men cartoon that I fucking adored, that I was just like, yeah, this is people who, like, these are creators who get it, you know, these are people who like really fucking like honed in on it, and just, yeah, we're like, yeah, we know you love X-Men. Here's X-Men.
Yeah, a bunch of the original voice cast came back.
Yep.
It captured the soul of the original, and in 10 episodes, it only had literally one half of an episode that was filler.
Yeah.
And even then, it was still kind of like a fun, kind of hijinksy episode that was not out of place in the original.
No,
perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
James, I'm sorry. This was the one where I was like, I know you definitely did not watch this, so I know it's not higher on your list. But
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
It was very solid. And I also enjoyed the visual style. You know, like I was a little bit apprehensive at first, because it is like a kind of 3D 2D hybrid. But I do think that they did a really good job nailing the feel of the original, while, you know, still modernizing it for a current day pipeline, and, you know, current day cost saving, you know, kind of style, because they do not have League money.
Right.
But it's still, I thought it looked good, so I thought it looked great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait for season 2, X-Men 97, silver medal.
Hell yeah, very nice. All right, on a very similar note, my number 2 is my movie of the year, and it's also an animated film. And you know, possibly a little bit of recency bias coming into play here, but I would also argue that this kind of, it's sort of a very, it's my film, it was made for me kind of thing. I saw this over winter break, you know, just within the last like 2 weeks, basically. It's a small like indie movie. So it was only playing at like one theater, but I'm really glad I got to go see it in theaters, and it was awesome. It's a movie called Flow. And Flow is a movie about a cat.
This one, you saw this.
Yep. It's a movie about a cat who is a loner, and a massive flood happens that like displaces the cat from its home, and it has to go on this little journey, and a very perilous journey, I might add, too. It is, as a fair warning to people, I am highly recommending this movie, but it is also not for the faint of heart, especially if you have cats. I just wanted to go home and hug my 2 when I was watching it, because there were so many moments where I was just like, oh my god, you know, like sitting there. So it is a beautiful film. Weirdly, the 2 things that I can think to compare it most to are 2 video games. But when you hear which video games, you'll be like, I see why you're recommending it. Because the 2 games I thought of were Stray, very obviously, and Journey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever talked about Journey on this podcast.
Oh, you have. It was on your top 10 games list.
Oh, yes, of course, yes, because it's one of my favorite games of all fucking time. And yeah, weirdly, there was a moment in the movie where I was like, what do they do? Oh, it's Journey now. Like, you know, like where I'm just like, oh, okay. And yeah, it's an absolutely gorgeous film, especially in motion. I think there were a few shots in like when I watched the trailer where I was kind of like, oh, this looks a little weird. Like it kind of looks like it's like an Unreal Engine type thing, like where it's like it looks a little bit like a you know, cheaper game cinematic kind of thing. But actually sitting in the theater and watching it, actually sitting down and watching it and getting like immersed in the movie, like you get none of that. It's just it looks gorgeous. The acting on the characters is amazing. Like there's not a word of dialogue in the film, but you get 100% what's happening. You get who these characters are. Like you understand the personality of, like, you know, I've watched a lot of, you know, or I've consumed a lot of media with cats in them, right?
Mhm.
This cat like was like 80% Tybalt. Like just personality wise, just absolutely fucking so many little things where I was like, Tybalt does that. My cat does that. You know, like it was just like, oh my god, this is my. They all have such, and there's a couple of other animals that come into the story, and they all have such personalities without, you know, ever really breaking from like their animals still, right? Like they don't ever. Because, you know, tired of fucking, you know, there's a lot of movies out there where it's like, oh, it's animals, but they're all talking, and they're, you know, like they're basically just humans,
Right.
in fursuits essentially. But this one really, really kind of like, you could tell that they studied these creatures and like, you know, really made an effort to like communicate the emotions and communicate the personality without, you know, going too far into the like uncanny valley. Now there are still some things where it's like, hey, the cat steers a sailboat, and you're like, how can it do that? And it's just like, you know what? Don't worry about it. You know, like there's a few moments of like, you got to kind of suspend disbelief. And there's also, but it's, you know, it's mostly it's a sorrowful piece, I think. And especially, I won't spoil it, but like, you know, there's moments in the movie where it's like, it can get really fucking sad. So yeah. I think it's a small little Latvian independent film, and I highly recommend people support it because it's beautiful.
I'm really glad it's good because I saw the trailer for this when I went to go see. They put Howl's Moving Castle on the big screen for a couple weeks.
Awesome, yeah.
And this was a trailer that came before it.
Beautiful.
And as soon as I saw this, I thought, oh, this looks gorgeous. So I'm glad to hear it lived up. It's going to hit streaming in 2 days.
Yes, it is. Yes. So
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. No, we should 100% because I'm. Yeah, and I will also preemptively say that my bet is that it will not win an Oscar or anything of the sort because the Academy does not watch animated films. They just ask their kids what they recommend.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Best animated feature is gonna go to Inside Out too.
Probably, yes. Yeah. But my movie of the year is Flow.
Good pick.
And my number 2.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Saber, drop it on us.
Drop it, Jam.
Which one?
So,
needle drop, baby.
I don't know if you two will actually believe me, but I struggled for a long time deciding between these two for my number 1 and my number 2. It actually was genuinely difficult. I had to sit there and think about this quite a bit, and one of these entries very much is you said, Kat, you know, it could very well be recency bias. But at the end of the day, I had to go with my heart. And my number 2, to preface it, is I am sick of remakes unless they are passion projects.
Yep.
My number 2 is Nosferatu.
Hell yeah.
By Robert Eggers.
All right. It's my number 10.
As of recording, this movie has been out in theaters for a week and a half.
Yep.
But similar to Banshees of Inisherin, this movie came in and fucked up my entire best of list in the best possible way. I love it when something can come in and just sneak its way in at the last moment.
Yeah.
It is,
and I think just like Banshees, solid pick. Like if this had come out any other time of the year, I would probably still have it on my list somewhere.
Yeah, it's a beautifully made, fantastically acted, repulsive horror movie.
Yep.
I love weird vampire sex shit.
Yes.
This movie scratches that weird vampire sex shit.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
If for some reason you're unfamiliar with Nosferatu, it is a remake of a 1920s German silent film that is an unofficial adaptation of Dracula. And this particular version is by Robert Eggers. I haven't seen any of his previous movies, but he did The Witch, he did The Lighthouse, and he did The Northman. All 3 of which I've heard are great. All 3 of which I want to see at some point.
I love The Witch. Haven't seen the other 2 yet. I have an alternate movie poster of The Witch somewhere in my room. It's awesome.
Yeah. So that's my number 2, which of course immediately spoils my number 1 for both of you and anyone who was remotely paying attention earlier in the podcast.
Hell yeah. I am. Yes. I'm so excited.
I'm sure both of you are surprised while not being
No,
surprised and
exactly.
maybe a little disgusted.
No, I can't wait. I want to hear you gush about it.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Hey, anytime, any excuse to hear one of you be like, this fucking rocked is a good time for me. So, yeah, I mean, like, I will just echo everything you said. It's a beautifully acted, beautifully shot. It just like, you know, it's, I don't know, it's just such a vibe. You know, like there was not a single performance that did not have me at the edge of my seat, where I was just like, oh my god, you know, like, and you know, like we talked a little bit about it, that like when we were watching it, that, you know, Anya Taylor-Joy was originally going to be the main female protagonist,
Yes.
and she could not because of like scheduling conflicts with Furiosa. But like Lily Rose Depp like fucking nails it.
Yes, did a great job.
Yeah, there were I think only a couple of times where I was kind of like I would see her and think of like, oh, that could have been Anya. But basically once the movie really started going, completely left my mind.
Yeah,
I was
her,
just like,
her performance is. I was a little wary, just because I'm unfamiliar with her as a performer outside of Tusk.
I was gonna say I saw her in Tusk.
And you know,
I think I saw her in one other thing, like a TV show or something.
She was in The
she was
Idol.
good. I did not watch The Idol.
I have not seen The Idol. I don't want to see The Idol.
No,
In a lot of cases, I'm also skeptical of nepo babies. But her performance was fucking fearless.
Yeah, she was great. She was great.
Yeah, and I've always liked Nicholas Hoult. This made me love Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Oh, she was in Silent Night, which is a film I saw a couple years ago, and I enjoyed it. It's interesting, if not, it's good. So she was good in it.
One of the 3 movies called Silent Night, and they all have nothing to do with each other.
Correct. It's the one where like there's an apocalypse happening and they all meet up for a like dinner party before they all kill themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. But yes, it's right there with Barbarian, where we almost accidentally rented the one from like 2018 that has nothing to do with fucking Barbarian.
Barbarian?
All right, Lee, what's your
Good
number
shit.
1 and why is it Vampire Assassin?
Let's go. Gold medal.
I was gonna keep this one under wraps for a long time until we did this recording. And then I couldn't contain myself when we started watching the Game Awards, and I had to let the cat out of the bag that I was playing it.
Yeah.
Number 1 game of the year, Metaphor Refantatio.
Hell yeah.
Hey, nice.
Hell yeah.
What a fucking game.
Awesome.
Unreal.
Awesome.
It's an Atlas joint. It's very much in the flavor of Persona. A lot of people like tongue-in-cheek refer to it as Persona 6. But okay, where do I start? I'm gonna try and not like gush about it because I'll just go on forever. But it does everything that I want an RPG to do. The combat system is turn-based, but with that great press turn method that just like horribly brutalizes you if you don't know how to plan ahead. So it's not like that strict turn-based of, okay, now you go. Okay, now you go. Like, no, there's ways to manipulate it and take advantage of it and to in turn get fucked over by it. So I love that.
Cool.
It has one of the greatest implementations of a job system. Like characters with classes, okay, that's fine. No, I like Final Fantasy Tactics. I like a job system. Metaphor has one of the best job systems for classes that I've come across. The characters are all charming. They're all rich. They're all distinct. They're all unique. It has one of the best written RPG characters I have ever seen. A character named Heisme. He's one of the main party members. He's a little like bat dude. And it's like, oh, are you going to be the cute little mascot character? And he's like the war veteran who's seen some shit.
Yes.
And it just incredibly moving prose. And it almost gets to that point of like pretentious It almost gets there. Like, when you first boot the game, it's this voice like ominously asking you, like, oh, like, what do you believe fantasy is? And you're like talking to this voice, and it's asking, like, who are you? And it's telling you, like, no, enter your name. Don't name the player character. Who are you? And I'm like, oh, you're going to be one of those games. And it did so in a way that was so gratifying.
Okay.
And the gimmick of it, to just give the bare bones of it, because I wish I actually knew this part of the plot going in before I played it.
Okay. Yeah, because I know nothing about it. So.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah.
The plot of this game is sort of JoJo's Part 7 Steel Ball Run. It's a
Sold.
race.
Sold.
The gimmick is, and this is in the opening cutscene, so I'm not spoiling anything you're not going to see when you boot it.
Yeah.
The king of this country gets assassinated, and everybody freaks the fuck out. Oh, we don't have a leader. What do we do? And all these people start throwing their name in the hat. That should be me. It should be me. It should be me. And then from beyond the grave, the king's power is so mighty that he lays down a set of rules. Fucker's dead. He's like, all right, whoever's going to take my throne, it's going to be based on the will and the hearts and the trust of my people. And I can tell, because I'm all powerful magic man and I'm dead. I can tell who people are putting their trust in. And so a very strict set of magically enforced rules come into play, where the person who will become king is the one who has won the hearts of the people.
Okay.
And the entire thing, it just becomes democracy. That's the metaphor.
Nice.
That is the metaphor, and metaphor refantatio. It is a fantasy kingdom environment
That is so cool.
being forcefully exposed to democratic voting process for the first time.
Nice.
And every little bit of the storyline and the narrative and the character building is carpet bombed with modern day political implications.
Interesting.
But that seem completely outlandish and out of nowhere because they're taking place in a fantasy kingdom. So the way they handle it is just like outrageous. Like, you're going against other competitors who are in the race for the throne, and there'll be one guy like debating you because there's debates, and he'll be like, I think that taxes are bullshit and no one needs taxes. And you start to look at this guy, it's like, oh, next you're going to start saying like, we don't need laws either. And then he goes, and let me tell you something about laws. And you get into a battle with him, and he's called the Libertarian.
Yeah.
Like,
Hell yeah.
It's so brilliantly written.
That's awesome.
Just delightful little touches. The last one I'll mention, just because it was the moment I fell in love with the game. It was really early on. Your main character has a companion named Gallica, who's a fairy, who is, I think, one of like, Elizabeth is still best companion character in any video game. Gallica is like right behind her now as number 2.
Okay.
And you're in a desert. That's the starting stage. And you're talking, you're on a mission, you don't know what the mission is yet, and you have anxiety, which is a running theme in the game, is conquering anxiety. And Gallica goes, don't worry, I'll get your head in the zone. And she waves her hand and casts a spell on you, and then your soundtrack kicks in.
Oh.
And she goes, don't forget that music was this world's first magic.
Oh.
And I went, fuck, whatever you're about to get me into, I'm ready to cry. Let's go.
Oh.
So, absolutely beautiful game. If you're a fan of Persona or any Atlas joints, it scratches that itch. It definitely deserved to be nominated for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
So, my pick for number 1, Metaphor Refantatio.
Yeah, that's on my list of shit to check out eventually when I have money and when I have free time, since I'm also balls deep in a lot of other
JRPGs.
RPGs.
Yes, it is kind of a longer one. I platinumed it. To platinum it takes 2 playthroughs because you have to do a new game plus boss. So I think
Sounds about
total. Right, I think my playtime was 110 hours.
That's right. You mentioned to me that you platinumed it, and I was like, one of us.
That is comparatively short for an Atlas game.
Yeah, well, I'm about to dig into that because I guess spoilers for what I'm doing 2025. I'm going to be starting Persona 5 Royal.
Oh, good luck with that, buddy.
Oh, hell yeah. That's awesome.
That game is a banger, but also expect first playthrough to be like 90 to 100 hours.
Yes. I've heard from people it's amazing, but it's also like you will play it for the whole year.
I don't care. I just want to date the teacher.
Yeah. There you go. All right, that's a pretty solid pick. Speaking of pretentious, no. Sorry, no. I probably will get a little pretentious here, but so I would like to reiterate for my number one, the rule that we have of this is not media that came out in 2024. This is media that we experienced for the first time in 2024.
Yes.
And there are going to be a lot of people, I should say, that are really mad at me for not playing this game sooner because they're like, you will love this game. I have been recommended this game for years.
I'm so glad you finally played Deadly Premonition.
No, I've already played Deadly Premonition, but
then I'm so glad you finally played Deadly Premonition too.
But no, so y'all know me as a big TTRPG enthusiast. I think this might be, if not the best, one of the best TTRPG inspired games of all time. It's Disco Elysium.
Fucking
it's my number one.
Hell yes.
Yep. I went in expecting it to be over fucking hyped. I actually at one point tried to play this game several years ago with Will, and I was just like I think we were in the phase where we were like, we had just done like a Phoenix Wright game together, and we were like doing the voices together. So we were expecting this to be more of that style of visual novel, and it was not. And so we were just like, okay, like fine, we'll just, like basically we got like, I think like a chat, like maybe 10 minutes in, and we were like, this is too much reading, we're gonna turn it off. But then this year I was like, no, I really want to play this. I want to get back into it. And I started it, and I ended up platinuming it not once, but twice.
It's so good.
On Steam and on PlayStation. That's how much I was like into it. Yeah, it's an amazing fucking game. I mean, I can't start anywhere. Like people who have already played it, like it's amazing. You've had it on your best of lists for years. People who haven't played it, like fucking play it. Like if you are at all into TTRPGs, if you're into detective stories, if you're into kind of like film noir type stuff, if you're into just like I'm just like I can list, if you're into politics, if you're into
it's one of those narratives that isn't scared to go that extra step where most other narratives would kind of like pump the brakes and be like, okay, let's hold it up there.
Yes.
But Disco doesn't mind going there. When you've got an argument with a dude that you're role playing and you pull your partner's gun and put it to your own head and go, I'll fucking do it. And the guy's like, no, you wouldn't. And then you have the option to just shoot yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing I will say, like, I think also like a lot of people who recommended this game didn't recommend it for this reason, but a lot of my TTRPG characters end up being that kind of like horrible chaos disaster man that is like
that is
like,
him.
Yeah, that is him. And I was just like, I mean, not intentionally at all, because I played this before I played Disco Elysium, but like he's very similar to a character I played in, like, we had like an Old West but like in Hell RPG where I had this character who was just like he was like I think he was like framed by his old gang or something like that. And at one point I just, we got this like crazy artifact, and there was some like, basically the devil was after it. And I decided I'm going to hide it by putting it in my mouth. which was not the move, because yeah, it was a really, like, we couldn't even touch it, and I was just like, I'm gonna throw it in my mouth so we can get out of here. And the DM was just like, really?
Yeah.
But also, okay, we're in it. So yeah, that's 100% Harry. It's just like that guy.
I still need to play more of it, and I still need to like restart my playthrough. But one of the things that I do absolutely love about it, from the little I have played and the little I know, is that based on your starting stats, I love the fact that you can accidentally die of a heart attack while trying to get your tie.
Correct.
In the
first minute, of the game. Yes. Yeah. And like,
I think it's the strongest writing I've ever seen in a video game.
Up there.
Yes.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah. Easily for me, it's up there. I think there are, I think the biggest thing for me is that it's the voice is so very distinctly its own, where it's like, it feels very much like this is the story we set out to tell, this is the way we set out to tell it, and we're unapologetically doing it that way, and I know there's been a little bit of, like, I didn't get too in the weeds on the research of it, because I found a lot of bad stuff on like all sides where I'm like, okay, like that sucks, but basically, yeah, like there has been some, obviously not great things that the studio did to, or the publishers rather did to the studio.
Yeah,
that it's like,
I've heard about that.
Yeah. So we're not going to get too into it, because this is not I want to celebrate their work, not like bring it down by like being like, yeah, but in the real world, lots of bad shit happened, including
the main thing I've heard, at least in terms of like a competitor to the writing of Disco Elysium, although I haven't played it myself, is Planescape Torment, which is also kind of TT RPG focused and everything like that.
Yes.
And I've heard nothing but good things about that, and I frequently hear Disco Elysium is like up there with Planescape in terms of just sheer writing ability, except Disco Elysium is not kind of like fantasy D&D type stuff. It's its own little unapologetically unique setting. Yes. It's a very unique setting. It I love the TTRPG system that they came up with. I love that it's dice rolls still. Like I do really dig that. It kind of reminded me a little bit. It leaned more to me to a like Call of Cthulhu style system than a like D&D style system. So I liked that a lot. And yeah, it's just like it's just a really great piece. I love the art style is gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to everyone who recommended this game, and I just went, yeah, later, because I get it now.
I have to mention it because in all of my years of playing games and like recognizing them as an art form, I have never fucking in my life laughed harder at a game than Disco Elysium. And I brought up the exact moment. I pulled up the picture.
Yep.
You are talking to Gaston, who is eating his sandwich.
Yep.
And your choices for conversation are, this city's going to shit. Sooner or later, some foreign anarchist is going to steal your sandwich. That's a fact. Option number 2. Your blood sandwich is a tool of the oppressors, designed to keep the proletariat docile. Option 3. These options seem awfully fascist or communist. What if I don't want to say them? And if you select that, rhetoric says to you, choose one of these fascist or communist things or get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the other thing I will say. I think from a storytelling point of view, having your stats be characters who talk to you is a fucking genius move that I'm like, no one can do this again because it will just be like a cheap Disco Elysium knockoff. And I'm like kind of jealous because I'm just like, that's brilliant. I love that. That's such a fucking, that's dope. Like if I was more of a hack, I'd be like, I'm gonna steal that for something someday, but I'm not that much of a hack. So but I do just think I'm like, that's a fucking genius way to tell the story.
Yeah. So glad that you played that game. It's fucking great.
Yep. So yeah, that's my number 1.
Hell yeah.
James, take us home.
All right, let's do it.
Cock your shotguns, everybody.
Every once in a while,
Wait, can we have like really dramatic music playing in the background in the edit? Like the Oscar music where it's just like
I'll find something. Let me make a timestamp.
The Halo 2 theme.
Yes.
Every now and then you stumble across a piece of media that is life-changing. It is just so unapologetically itself, and you just have a great time with it, whether you're watching it on your own or with a group of friends. And filmmaking is really, really, really hard. It's really hard, but there are certain things that would seem to be not terribly difficult, like telling a coherent narrative. And I want to reemphasize that, as Kat pointed out, this is not a list of media that came out in 2024, because this particular cinematic masterpiece came out in 1986. We watched it together as a group after we discovered it through Red Letter Media. They had a video where they discussed this film, and even though we've said the title earlier, before we get to the title, I also did some research, and I have a quote pulled up. And the quote is literally the back of the box description that Red Letter Media had to read before they covered the film. And I just want you to all sit and bask in this description of the movie. And I want you to know that everything I say happens in the movie. Every last thing. A perpetually grunting man-freak beast dressed in semi-Nazi garb semi-terrorizes the French countryside. Meanwhile, a vacationing couple takes shelter in an ominous Gothic chateau for the night. The elderly keepers of the Grand Castle tell a tale of a galleon running aground from 5 pillagers setting a huge bonfire on a nearby beach to lure the ship in. This prompts the old drunkard owner to take a shotgun with unlimited ammo out to murder a wild black stallion for 10 continuous hours. The ghostly galleon then erupts from a cake, doubling as a mountainside, as its contents of barrels and an Egyptian casket spill forth. A mummy emerges with a thunderclap, and the young vacationing woman ends in the middle of it all in a fight for survival after leaving the safety of the medieval fortress. This movie is all killer, no thriller. All killer, no filler. It's 75 minutes, and it's a devil story.
And it's art.
It is a French movie.
It is a masterpiece.
Everything I have said, it sounds preposterous. It sounds nonsensical. It sounds like, no, this is some bullshit that, like, an old man does not go outside with a shotgun with unlimited ammo and shoot at a horse for 10 hours.
No, it does.
It happens.
It happens.
You're going to say a galleon does not emerge from a cake.
From a cake?
Yeah, from a cake.
I just want to highlight that part because I didn't realize that. From a cake?
A row?
I mean, it's clear, like, the mountain that they used in the movies, like, clearly looks like a cake. What do you want from me?
I mean, it's clearly not a real mountain, but I thought they were trying, not saying, like, yeah, he comes from a cake.
No.
Like a birthday party stripper.
Yeah. This movie is inept. It is incomprehensible. Things just happen. Before we even get opening credits, we have our perpetually grunting man freak beast, and I want to point out that the Nazi garb thing is a bit confusing because while he wears a jacket, that is clearly a Nazi jacket. If you're watching an HD version of the movie, you can clearly see that he also has an American GI uniform on.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure if this is an American GI who got cold and killed a Nazi and put on the Nazi garb, or maybe this is a Nazi who decided to switch uniforms for some reason. I don't know. Nobody
Are
tells
we-
me nothing.
Are we
just
on the
work
side
here.
of the grunting man freak beast or not, James?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is also a couple that is supposedly in the French countryside, but their license plate says Florida.
It's Florida.
We watched it dubbed. Maybe the subtitled version is more coherent. I don't want to know. I have no intention of ever watching this in French with subtitles. That would be a waste of my time. The dub is what it is. We made 2 separate memes from this movie, based on Lee's idea and Emu's idea.
Yep.
One of which is just the old man shooting at the horse to the Elden Ring final boss theme.
Yep.
And the other is the old man, because at one point he has the shotgun and he's waving it around like a club for some reason. Before he even attempts to shoot at the horse. And Emu wanted to see that set to Duel of Fates from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And I made both of those, and you can actually watch them on this YouTube channel. The only other movie I think that is comparable in terms of just sheer ineptitude and just joy that it brings me is Wish Upon. This is definitely joining the Legion of Goon.
Imagine,
absolutely.
yes. Imagine that guy shooting at the tricycle left to rust on the front lawn for 15 years.
Yeah.
For 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's a movie. Now that's cinema.
Yeah. This is if you love bad movies, you love entertainingly bad movies.
Yep.
This is a movie for you.
Yeah.
And I am proud to say that I prefer this to Nosferatu.
You can tell there's a certain amount of genuine heart that goes into talking about a movie where with all sincerity in the world, you're like, no, this is a piece of garbage.
Yes.
This is awful.
Where you said without taking a breath, it's incompetent.
Incompetent.
And it's your number 1 film. I love it so much.
It is a disaster.
Yes.
I didn't mention it in the honorable mentions, but like there was another disaster of a movie that I was really tempted to put in my list. That was Neil Breen's The Tortured Crossing. Because that CG tiger and
that CG tiger was pretty great.
The entire movie feels as though it was shot like an FMV adventure game from the 90s.
Yes.
It was pretty incredible.
Honestly, like get him and Puppet Combo together in a room, and like we got some magic going. I think.
Like Neil Breen is a legend, but this is a different breed. Like Neil Breen movies are fun to watch in a group when drinking.
Yeah.
Wish Upon and Devil Story are above that in a league of their own.
Yes.
They are beautifully incompetent, and I think everyone can enjoy a mummy spewing out toothpaste from its mouth.
Yep.
I think everyone can enjoy a scene of the Egyptian sarcophagus opening and the mummy stepping out of it, only to realize that there's actually no back of a sarcophagus. They only made a front.
That's right. Yes.
I think everyone can agree at the brilliance of seeing a horse neigh and a woman who's like 15 feet away putting her arms in front of her face as if she's like trying to protect herself from being attacked, but it's just a horse neighing.
Listen, if you're out there listening to this podcast, you think you understand. You don't know shit. You don't fucking know anything about Devil's Story.
You need, just watch it.
Just watch it.
Just do it. And that is my number 1, Devil Story.
I love it.
Holy
so much.
Christ! All right, let's hit the recap.
Yep, we gotta wrap it, and
let's
then
bring this shit home.
And then after the recap, our last little bit, right?
Little bits of anticipation for the year ahead. All right, so for the Valley Jester, the 3 disappointing were Stormgate, Mr. McMahon on Netflix, and Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. The 5 worst of the year: Corpse Party Blood Drive, Rebel Moon Part 2 Scargiver, the non-director's cut version, Puppet Master Littlest Reich, The Crow 2024, and Madam Web, re-release it, Sony. I'll go, I swear. And my top 10 best of 2024. Nosferatu, Dracula Flow, Titanfall 2, Zenless Zone Zero, Kendrick Lamar vs. Drake, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, Godzilla -1, Cody Rhodes vs. Roman Reigns, X-Men 97, and Metaphor Refantatio.
Nice. Oh, don't forget your barbarian.
Yeah, mention your
And,
barbarian.
well, of course, the Barbarian Award winner, aka James's Film of the Year, Devil's Story.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. So, my most disappointing is the Black Mirror remake, Suitable Flesh, and then Alien Romulus at number 1. Worst of list, Joker 2, Madam Web, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, the theatrical cut, and number 1 is Wish. And my best of the list, number 10, the YouTube channel Smosh Games, number 9, X-Men 97, number 8, the role-playing game Dread, number 7, Vampire, number 6, Nosferatu, number 5, The Fisherman, number 4, The Substance, number 3, Cyberpunk 2077, number 2, Flow, and number 1, Disco Elysium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, did you say you're barbarian?
Trap is my barbarian.
Oh, there you go. All right. For me, Saber. With disappointment, number 3 is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. Number 2 is Furiosa. Number 1 is the Bloober Team Silent Hill 2 remake. For worst, number 5 is Silent Hill The Short Message. Number 4 is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu / Let's Go Eevee. Number 3 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Number 2 is Layers of Fear. Number 1 is Alien Romulus. I am temporarily skipping my Barbarian for now, just to make it line up with everybody else, since we're saving that for last, apparently.
Yeah.
Number 10 best is Shadow of the Erd Tree. Number 9 is Snatcher from Hideo Kojima. Number 8 is Deadpool and Wolverine. Number 7 is Rudy Ray Moore bearing Winos Alive, aka Petey Wheatstraw, the Devil's Son-in-Law. Number 6 is Stone Cold, the movie, not the wrestler.
Hell
the
yeah.
action movie. Number 5 is Sniper Killer. Number 4 is Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. Number 3 is Deep Fear. Number 2 is Robert Eggers' 2024 remake of Nosferatu. Number 1 is The Grunting Man Freak Beast and Devil Story. And Barbarian is Deathbed, the bed that eats.
What a year.
What a year.
What a fucking year.
Oh man. All right. So we're clocking in at like what?
4 hours.
4 hours at this point?
Yeah,
4.5.
let's wind this shit down.
Yeah. Okay. 4.5. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Let's
then
only
yeah.
briefly touch upon anticipated and most anticipated.
2025 hopefully will be a good year for everybody. But yeah, let's get our most anticipated and our least anticipated thing of next year.
Okay.
Me?
I don't have a least anticipated. I'm just going to let things unfurl as they're going to unfurl.
For real?
However, for most anticipated, I have 3. It's my most anticipated game, movie, and piece of music.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Most anticipated game for 2025 is Atelier Yumiya. It's the next in the Atelier series. Everything about it looks fucking fantastic so far. It looks like it's taking the laid-back, casual aspects of Ryza that I liked, but making it a little more involved in the gameplay aspects. It looks like maybe a little more character action-y, which I think is going to upset some of the like really core fans of the franchise. But me, who's a filthy casual, lay it on me. I'm into it. Movie. Holy fuck, I can't wait for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Ooh.
Give me that shit.
Oh, I forgot that was coming.
I'm
Holy
ready
shit.
for that shit.
Holy shit.
And then number one thing I'm most anticipating in 2025, I don't have to wait very long. February 7th will be the newest record from my favorite band, Dream Theater,
Nice.
who have reunited with their founding member, Mike Portnoy. He's back on the drum kit for the first time in like 13 years or something. They've released 2 singles from the newest record, and they're pretty damn solid. Mike is showcasing his chops again. He's still a beast behind the kit, and you can tell back when he's back in the creative aspect of the band, because I can hear that it's got balls. Now that he's back, Dream Theater is going to remind people that they're a metal band. So I'm looking forward to their release Parasomnia on February 7th.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Very nice. All right, I just did one each. Because I really honestly couldn't think of a lot of stuff, because there's things that I have in mind for like future, but I think they're like a ways out still. Actually, no. You know what? I will add one other thing to my most anticipated list, because I missed. That's a hint. I missed out on it this year, because it came out in October, and it's a game that I love, and I really, really, really want to savor the remake of. So I've just been like waiting for I need just a weekend to myself, just to like sit in the dark with my Riven mouse pad that actually exists, and play the Riven remake from this year. Which, spoiler alert, will probably be my game of the year next year. But yeah, so that's that. I'm very excited for that. And then also, this next year is going to be a good year for The Hunt. Because my most anticipated of 2025 is Monster Hunter Wilds.
Yes.
I'm going to be playing that with Will. I'm really excited to get back into a game like that with him and the crew that he's got going for that. So I'm pretty excited for that one. And then my least anticipated is we're going to watch it at some point. The final Sony Cinematic Universe movie to complete the triad.
No.
It will be Kraven the Hunter.
Oh.
So
I heard you're really craven to see that movie.
Absolutely, you monster. So James.
Well, since I guess we're adding multiples,
sorry.
It's fine. My second most anticipated comes with a giant asterisk with it. And the anticipated is Elden Ring Night Rain. The asterisk is seamless co-op.
Yes.
The minute that has seamless co-op, and we can get the full squad without any because I'm assuming it's going to have some form of multiplayer restrictions per usual with FromSoft.
Mm-hmm.
Second those are out the window with something like seamless co-op, it's going to be fun. Hopefully,
yeah, for sure.
But my most anticipated is Mickey 17 by Bong Joon-ho, with Robert Pattinson in the lead. It is his new science fiction movie that's coming out, where Robert Pattinson is playing multiple clones of himself.
Yeah.
And it looks like a lot of fun. I fucking loved Parasite, and I'm very much looking forward to whatever the fuck this movie is.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of Moon.
Yeah.
You ever seen that movie?
Yes. With Sam
at least conceptually, I was like, seems kind of like, but a very different vibe, obviously.
Yeah.
So
it looks fun.
Cool. That's awesome.
My least anticipated is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the remake of my 6th favorite game of all time. It is a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. Unlike, say, Silent Hill 2, where it feels stupid to remake Silent Hill 2 before remaking Silent Hill 1, I understand why you would choose to remake Metal Gear Solid 3 first. Canonically, it is the first game in the overarching narrative of the Metal Gear universe. It takes place in 1964. However, it is on my least anticipated list because Konami still hasn't earned any trust or faith from me. It is being internally developed as opposed to outsourced, so it's like, who knows what the fuck they're capable of doing. And also it is a remake of the beloved game in modern AAA, so I fully expect a lot of stuff that I dislike about modern AAA, namely potentially forced walks and over excessive dialogue and overly hand-holdy type stuff to potentially be present in the game. And it is also now the second Metal Gear game Konami has attempted without the involvement of Hideo Kojima. And while I've kind of fallen off the Hideo Kojima bandwagon in recent years, it still feels weird, and personally I would much rather just see the franchise die and go away. Like, keep it revived with like compilation collection, sure, but I don't need a fucking remake.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a fucking remake.
Yeah, it's... If I were in your shoes, I'd be a little nervous.
Yeah, like, I'll play it day one, and I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's good, but Konami has not done anything in the last decade to warrant any fucking trust or faith from me. Yeah, I know people like Silent Hill 2 Remake, and I'm happy for you. And that is a step in the right direction, but they still haven't done anything to earn any trust.
Yeah.
It's been mostly dog shit or garbage or predatory microtransaction type shit.
Are they developing the game too? You said? Okay.
Konami is internally developing it with Unreal 5.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that's cool, but again, Konami, as far as I'm aware, haven't internally developed anything for years.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what they're capable of. There's I'm not going to blindly be excited just because remake of my favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not as bad as it could be.
Fingers crossed. It's already, I suppose, credit to where credit is due. A lot of people were expecting it to come out in 2024 because that would have been the 20th anniversary of Metal Gear Solid 3, and it missed the 20th anniversary, so presumably they are taking their time to try to let the game cook. But I don't know. We'll see whenever it comes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that brings us to a close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking around for all these 4 hours.
Yeah.
We hope your media consumption in 2024 was enjoyable to you as well.
Or at least as deranged as Devil's Story.
Yes. And if not, make it your 2025.
Hell yeah. Kat, where can they catch you?
Pretty much nowhere. Don't come looking for me.
Beautiful. Well, you can come find me playing gotcha garbage.
Yeah. So sometimes I will be on Saber's channel, doing co-op stuff. Probably Elden Ring at some point again in the near future, but we'll see.
Goddamn right.
You're goddamn right. I'll break out my madness build again.
I already have a date for that, baby.
Hell yeah. Oh no, wait, no. This time we're doing something else, which I'll keep a secret. Ooh.
And you can come catch me at twitch.tv/valleyjester. Catch up on me doing all my gotcha dailies and ogling the cute anime girls. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Come join me.
Hell yeah.
And once again, this is Saber. You know who I am. You can click one of the links below to find my stuff, ideally at twitch.tv/saber0307. With that, who knows when our next episode will be. At this point, I'm thinking we might as well save our favorite films part 2 for the anniversary episode. To make
maybe.
it a full year. I don't know what'll be in between. Who knows when we'll be back.
Yeah.
But
we love you all.
Yeah, in the meantime, take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Be excellent to each other. And everybody get fucked.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bro let the demons win.